All right. Hello and welcome to the Monday, March 25th edition of the Cluster API provider AWS office hours. We have a relatively light agenda today, so if you have any topics, please go ahead and add them. The doc is linked in the group chat if you're attending live. Um, so looks like currently the only item that we have in the agenda is the V1 Alpha 1 tracking. Did you want to go ahead and take that item, Andy?
Yes. So I just closed out one issue. So specifically for the AWS provider, we have 7 open V1 Alpha 1 issues. If everyone is okay, we can go through them one by one since there's not that many. All right. So Jason, do you have this query up so that you can switch over to it in a different browser tab? If not, I can send it over to you.
I can go ahead and bring it up. You're just looking at the V1 Alpha 1.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go from the bottom up. There's one more if you scroll. Or there. Oh, I guess you have them sorted somehow. All right, so we will go bottom up then. Umbrella on user experience and getting started experience improvements. This one I haven't looked at today, but it hasn't been updated since January. So I think this is probably something that we can just defer to next. And then my preference is against umbrella issues because I just find that they're hard to track. So what I would recommend actually would be to review this and see if we can come up with individual issues and create them if they don't exist already. And then if we need to break them out into different milestones or use GitHub projects or something, I'm open to whatever, but at least for me, the umbrella issues are more trouble than they're worth. So I'm going to at least move the milestone on this one. And then we'll come back to it after the release or when people have time and figure out what to do with it. Okay, next up is the periodic EDE testing, which Harish is, he did a session with Andrew Kutz to get up to date and up to speed on what this involves. And I know, Jason, you have taken over the AWS Boscos Janitor PR from Andrew, and you're going to see that through. And then Harish is we're going to close out the bottom open task in that list, and Harish is going to open up a replacement PR for it. So I would expect that to happen this week, but it's not going to gate the actual release. But obviously the goal is to get it in. All right, next up is document what you get in a cluster. I think this is kind of the same stance on documentation. It would be fantastic if we get this in, but I don't believe anyone is actively working on it. So we can leave it in the milestone for right now, but if it slips to after Friday, that's fine. Then tagging failures can result in orphaned resources. This one, I believe you all said there was an update from Nadir, and and there it is from a few days ago, and that, like the other things, we probably can just push this to later. Anyone have any objection to taking this one and moving it to the next milestone? Okay, I will do that. I got it, Jason. Then we've got documenting alignment, which If nobody's done that yet, I can do that because we have the sample tables here, and I know that there were pull requests for other providers like Azure. So I can handle that one if we don't have a PR for it yet. And then the MFA account, I actually haven't looked at this one recently. I think we are still waiting for more info on this one. So my approach to waiting for more info is that they're not going to block a release unless we believe that it's a problem and that we have insight that we need to fix it right now. So either we can get someone to attempt to try this out with MFA and see if it's a problem, or we can just wait on the reporter to come back.
Do we want to set a kind of timeout precedent for these types of issues to just kind of close them out if we don't get responses in a timely manner?
Does this repo have the prow, stale, and rotten settings?
We do not have that configured today.
All right, let me, I'll make a note for, to follow up on that. For this one in particular, I think we probably might want to have somebody look and see if this is actually an issue. So does anyone have some spare time and have multi-factor authentication enabled in an AWS account to be able to test this?
So for example, my workflow uses MFA, but I don't know if I'm using the same workflow as the reporter is.
Okay. Do you think you could just spend a minute or two comparing what's in the getting started document and what your workflow is and see if they're a match or not?
Yep, I can do that.
All right. And if it isn't, then we'll see if we can find somebody else.
I also know the owner of that, the person who submitted that ticket, so I just encouraged him directly to provide more details.
Okay, thank you, Alan. All right, next up, Jason. We have project dependencies.
So sorry, and like one thing about MFA is I think it was covered in the issue, but it's specifically because we don't ask for an MFA, and AWS will ask the client to provide it like an MFA token, and the only solution to that is to use session tokens or AWS Vault, which
yeah, I mean I am a fan of AWS Vault, so if we want to say you need to use AWS Vault with session tokens, I'd be willing to suggest that as an alternative to direct support.
Yeah, I think that's a good way.
All right, what is this one?
So this one's about, we don't specify minimum versions of the Go tooling or kind or some of the other dependencies for Kappa. And I'm happy to go ahead and take this one. I can get this knocked out this week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar enough with the build process at this point around Go version. I do have experience in other projects where we've used a Docker image and container that pins the Go version so that, yeah, you can run Go build locally with whatever version of Go you have installed. But in terms of what we use in CI and what we use to produce the binaries that we ship, like that all goes through a Docker workflow. So if we're not doing that, it's something we might consider.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they tried to build it, because if they used Bazel, it would use a containerized Go version that we pin.
I think this is just like I tested with Go 1.9, and what it says is like it's missing some strings of builder, I think, libraries that now it's used in one of the dependencies. So this is just the result of go get. As you mentioned, go like with Bazel, it should tell you that the version is mismatched.
Okay, well, Jason, if you've got some cycles to write down a little bit, I think that'll help.
Well, and additionally, I think we have some use cases where people may want to import some of the code that we use. So I think documenting a minimum version of Go is reasonable for that use case as well.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. Those are the open issues.
All right, let me try to get back to the document. No new items on the agenda. Is there any other topics anybody wants to bring up or discuss? If not, we can adjourn early today.
I think release is this Friday, right?
Yeah.
Ah, yes, thank you. Yes.
Make a note.
Let's go ahead and add that in there. And as long as there are no major issues between now and Friday, we do plan on cutting a release for the AWS provider after the cluster API release is cut on Friday. So, all right. Any other topics, news, or announcements? All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much.